5 o'clock. Can we get started?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Balasubramanian Iyer, and I'm the Regional Director for the International Cooperative Alliance, Asia and Pacific. I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar on post-COVID-19 to look at what responses cooperatives in the region have made and the actions that we can take or we are planning to take. So we are delighted to have Mr. Ariel Guarco, President of ICA, Mr. Li Shunsheng, the President of the International Cooperative Alliance, Asia Pacific, Dr. U.S. Avasti, Dr. Chandrapal Singh Yadav, Melina Morrison, Mr. Gary Leonardo from the Philippines, Mr. Bao from Vietnam Cooperative Alliance, Ali Reza Benafir from the Iran Chamber of Cooperatives, and Mr. Satyanarayana from the National Cooperative Union of India. We've chosen them more as to represent each sub-region that we have so that we can get a sense of what cooperatives in each of these regions and countries are doing to give us a better sense. I'd also like to thank ECOPIN, which is the Indonesian institute which trains on cooperatives, for providing us their platform. We are using their Zoom services. And when I requested them that I would like to use their services, we would like to use, their response was most definitely, we are cooperatives and we are here to share and see how we can work together. So I'd like to thank ECOPIN for that. So it's been a changed scenario. I'm sure none of us 2 months back would have imagined that we would be meeting like this across different time zones, across different countries, meeting online. And in the past few weeks, we've learned a lot of new terminology. I'm sure now people can say what COVID-19 is, what PPE is, what an R number is. And we've also drastically changed our behavior in terms of distancing. We now talk about physical and social distancing. We wear masks. We also interact with each other cautiously. And these are termed as the new normal. And I think the pandemic has shown its global reach, and the Asia Pacific region is also at the center of it. But when we look at the top 10 countries where cooperatives are, where the COVID-19 is most prevalent, Asia comes at number 10. So in terms of our response, in terms of how we are prepared, I think the Asia Pacific region has done well. But in terms of tackling the health aspect, but then on the economic side, there is a lot of distress in terms of because of the closure, because of job losses, because of the way in which workers have been badly impacted. Despite this, during this crisis, many of cooperative services have been considered to be essential. When we take agriculture, when we take dairy, we take fertilizers, allied industries, these have all been considered essential services, and cooperatives have stepped up to the occasion. And so in terms of our response, it's been not only immediate, but it's also been in terms of looking at the future. So the question is, the governments are also introducing a number of stimulus packages. For example, India today has announced a number of measures to see how they can support micro, small, and medium enterprises. The question is, how do cooperatives fit within these? And how is it that we are going to work together, not only to promote the work that they are doing, but to also show how cooperatives are relevant, not only for today, but going ahead in the situation that we consider the new normal. And so to get started, I would like to have each of our apexes who are joining us today to briefly present about what their response has been and how do they look at the future. And once we've gone through the apexes, then we'll hear from Mr. Li Shunsheng as the regional president and Dr. Chandrapal Singh Yadav as the regional vice president. Then we'll hear from Dr. Ariel Guarco. And during the course of registration, we had requested you all to pose your questions. So we have categorized them. We have shared it with our speakers, our two main speakers, and they will touch upon this during their presentation. And some of the questions which are not answered, we will try to take it on within the time that we have. And even if you are not able to get to them during the session, we will try to get responses from them and have it posted on our website for you all to be able to go through it. So I'd like to get started and request Melina Morrison, the Chief Executive of the Business Council of Cooperatives and Mutuals, to start us off in terms of how they have responded in Australia to the current crisis and how they look ahead. Melina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Balu, and thank you, cooperative colleagues, for this opportunity to join you tonight on this webinar. It is this evening in Australia. I'm very happy to join with you in solidarity, and the Australian cooperative sector sends its greetings to our cooperative colleagues around the world at this very difficult time. I commend the ICA Asia Pacific region for bringing this webinar together so that we can share our responses. In Australia, in many ways, we have avoided some of the very difficult circumstances in other regions, and we are very aware of that and thankful for our government's response and our very effective public health system. However, it has been very important for us as a cooperative peak body to be able to work with government to ensure that cooperatives and mutuals in Australia receive the same help as stimulus as other types of businesses in the economy. At our council, we have implemented a three-pronged strategy. The first is that we have curated and disseminated a huge volume of information and resources for cooperative businesses on how they can respond to the pandemic. And this has been through a multi-channel communication strategy. We have used our existing social media platforms, our website, our email distribution list, but also online technology, Zoom meetings, webinars, and teleconferences to speak to our members. Every day we have curated and disseminated a morning newsletter that brings together news about the pandemic that was collated and collected overnight, so that the first thing that our members have in their morning email inbox is up-to-date information. We've also brought together a range of resources that the government has disseminated to business peak bodies, and we have placed these on a specific part of our website, which is the COVID-19 website landing page, where we are also taking the opportunity to collate and collect the behaviour and the activities and the responses of our members to share as leadership and incentives and encouragement to other cooperatives. We have set up a specific LinkedIn group, which is also sharing everyday different responses, both from members and from government and other stakeholders. So we are using the network to disseminate information. One thing that our members have taken use of is videos that we have produced for the last 3 weeks, which are interviews with members about how they are responding, so that they can share this video material. We've also commissioned our COVID-19 resilience report, which will be released in September of this year, which is going to report on the ways that cooperatives and mutuals responded during the pandemic. We believe that it's very important to collect evidence starting as soon as possible on the behaviour of cooperatives and their actions and activities to see how resilient they were during the pandemic and to show government and other stakeholders how important the sector is. We've also moved all of our events, including our education and training program, online, and we will shortly be offering the first of a suite of online training courses so that our members can continue to do their professional development and train in areas like governance and measurement of performance. In addition to our communication, we've been working very hard with government to make sure that all of the stimulus and government support packages include cooperatives. So just in short, the government in Australia has issued a range of support programs that include cash assistance, insolvency laws, loan guarantees, trainees and apprenticeship subsidies, wage subsidies, and the government has also set aside 1 billion Australian dollars to support regions and sectors significantly impacted by the coronavirus outbreak. We had to do a quite significant lobbying exercise to ensure that the Australian government's flagship wage subsidy program, which is a $130 billion wage subsidy called JobKeeper, included cooperatives and mutuals. The main advocacy exercise for us was to ensure that diversified consortia cooperatives and mutuals could be included as eligible, since the government's program required just the head company or the group to apply for the wage subsidy system. There's been a huge range of stimulus at our regional, state and territory level, which I won't go into now, but it's been very important for us as a peak body to attend as many government roundtable events and to sit on a number of task forces to bring the voice of the cooperative sector straight into government to ensure that our businesses are also eligible for relief. Notably, we have advocated for specific sectors, in particular agriculture, which has suffered quite badly in terms of access to export markets. And we were able to help advocate for member cooperatives to receive funding to alleviate the huge cost impact of air freight during the coronavirus outbreak. I think that's enough of a summary from me, but I certainly am very, very open and would like to share with our international colleagues any information following this webinar. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Melina. That was very useful, especially the work that you all have done to lobby for cooperatives and make sure that we are included in the stimulus packages. And that's something which would be very useful for, I think, other members to know more about, especially how cooperatives are defined, especially when you look at governments in terms of the stimulus. They look at it mainly in terms of investment. And whether cooperatives can come in there, I think is very important. And so the work that you all are doing is very crucial, and we'd like to know more. And especially also on the report that you all are preparing. It would be good to know how you all have collected and what is the kind of report you're preparing so that it can be shared also with others. So thank you very much. I think we'll now move to Philippines. I think Mr. Gary Leonardo, the chairperson of the Philippines Cooperative Center, has joined us. Can I request Mr. Leonardo to present the views from the Philippines?
Thank you, Balu, and good evening, everyone. In behalf of the Philippine Cooperative Center, I wish to thank ICA Asia Pacific for inviting us to participate in this evening's webinar. Given the limited time, I'd like to immediately start off, first of all, by sharing with you some general information about the Philippine cooperative movement. There are a little more than 11,000 reporting cooperatives that directly employ about 600,000 and has a total membership base of about 11 million, which constitute 16% of the Philippine population who are at least 20 years old. Secondly, as we all know, cooperatives support 12 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, notably zero poverty and zero hunger. Thirdly, in the Philippines, cooperatives support one of the flagship programs of the government, which, when translated, is referred to as our ambition for 2040. The underlying aspiration behind this program is that by 2040, Filipinos will be enjoying a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life. Thus, cooperatives are well poised to contribute both to the attainment of the SDGs as well as to the realization of our Philippine ambition for 2040. But then, here comes COVID-19, totally unexpected, totally undesired, and the whole world, including cooperatives, had to respond accordingly. The Philippine government had initially identified three modes of responding to COVID-19, namely survival, transitional, and structural. But more recently, a pending bill in Congress has broken down the interventions under the government's stimulus package into five, namely transitional, financial, sectoral, structural, and policy measures. As you would note, the survival interventions have been taken out because the government thinks that we may have already gone past the survival phase. But just to backtrack, the cooperative sector's involvement in the survival phase has been mainly in two areas. One, social amelioration, and second, advocacy, both for operational relief and regulatory relief. In the area of social amelioration, many cooperatives have gone their way to provide direct assistance to their members and communities, even at the height of this pandemic. The assistance given was primarily in the form of personal protective equipment, or PPEs, and distribution of food packs. In particular, PCC has been buying vegetables from the farmer groups in the north to help them dispose of their excess produce. This comes from the donations of its benevolent member co-ops. Vegetables, together with rice, are distributed in turn to the needy co-op communities in the National Capital Region and Southern Luzon, including some indigenous communities in one province outside NCR. Also, as partly mandated by law, cooperatives have been giving financial relief to their members by way of deferred payment of loan amortizations for the 2-month lockdown period. Some cooperatives have even gone to the extent of waiving the interest on loans during this period. On the other hand, in terms of advocating that regulatory relief extended to cooperatives, PCC, together with other cooperative leaders, have continuously been lobbying with Congress and with the Interagency Task Force against COVID-19. The issues raised include, among others, first, the expressed inclusion of credit cooperatives in the list of essential businesses allowed to operate during the lockdown period. Second, the use of the Cooperative Development Fund, or CDF, to provide assistance to needy co-op communities, including those outside a cooperative's sphere of operation. Third, the distribution of interest on capital and patronage refund, or ICPR. even if a General Assembly has not been conducted. Fourth, extending the deadline for the submission of compliance reports with the Cooperative Development Authority. And fifth, deferring the holding of General Assemblies. So these are just some of the things that cooperatives have been doing to address the needs of their members in the midst of COVID-19. Now, under the same stimulus package that I referred to earlier, PCC is lobbying for expressed inclusion of cooperatives rather than just being subsumed under MSMEs. We are lobbying for such expressed inclusion for the following reasons. First, cooperatives are instruments of economic freedom and social justice. Second, cooperatives are enablers and promoters of self-help, self-responsibility, and self-organization. Third, the consumers of cooperatives are largely their own members. Fourth, to reiterate a point I made earlier, cooperatives contribute to 12 of the 17 SDGs and to Ambition 2040. And last, even the Philippine Development Plan expressly distinguishes cooperatives from MSMEs. As such, cooperatives can be and are in fact effective conduits of the government in its assistance programs, and its invaluable partners as well in boosting economic recovery. Moreover, when compared against the profile of business entities nationwide, the profile of Philippine cooperatives indicates a large share being accounted for by the large co-ops, both in terms of number and total assets. Even within the medium, small, and micro category, the medium-sized co-ops similarly account for a relatively larger share compared to the medium-sized business entities in general. Now, related to this, a quick check on the potential impact of a drop in liquidity, such as that due to deposit withdrawals, would show that the large co-ops are bound to be impacted more than the MSM co-ops, if not as impacted. This is reflected both in terms of the absolute amount and percent decrease in gross revenue, as well as in net surplus. Thus, cutting across all the interventions being looked upon by the Philippine government, we are lobbying that cooperatives be categorically included in the following modes of government assistance under the stimulus package. Please allow me to rattle them off. Wage subsidies, which are estimated at $60 to $70 million for co-ops alone. Regulatory relief for MSMEs, which would include waiving of fees and charges for 18 months. Regulatory relief for other business entities, which refers to the waiving of fees and charges as well, but only for 12 months. Bridging loans for MSMEs, which are at low or zero interest and with priority being given to health-related and R&D protocols. This is specifically for health federations and agri-co-ops to tap. Interest-free loans from the two government banks. The guarantee fund under the Credit Mediation and Refinancing Scheme for MSMEs. Assistance to MSMEs care of the Department of Trade and Industry. Assistance to the transportation industry care of the Department of Transportation. Bailing out of business entities that are critically impacted by the National Development Corporation. And lastly, enhancements in facilities relating to health, education, food, agri, and creative industries, which are enhancements primarily in the aspect of digitization. In addition, some of the other recovery strategies that we are looking at are the following. First, to continue lobbying for regulatory and statutory relief. such as, again, please allow me to rattle them off. Firstly, for CDA to allow the use of some restricted funds, such as the General Reserve Fund for the co-op's operations in order to help ease liquidity. Second, the possibility of CDA relaxing the required provision for loan losses. Third, applying any net losses that will be incurred by co-ops to PLL instead of charging this to GRF. Fourth, staggering GRF, say over 3 to 5 years on a rollover basis. Fifth, extending the validity of the certificates of compliance with CDA, although this has recently been extended already up to June 30. And six, that virtual board meetings and possibly even virtual general assemblies be considered official for compliance purposes. Another recovery strategy that we're looking at is to further strengthen agri-co-ops and supply chains. This is particularly in the light of the Back to Rural or Balik Provincia campaign of the government. We would also want to maximize the utilization of transport service co-ops, both in the transport of goods as well as of commuters. Fourth, to explore digital modes of engagement, such as cashless banking, telehealth, and online training focused on digital literacy. This calls for a significant shift in paradigm from bricks to clicks and from high-touch personal engagements to high-tech but minimal or even no-touch engagements with our members and fellow cooperatives. And last, to put up a more robust co-op database, which will go with wider data access, data security, and data integrity. This is where we would also need to put in place a data analytics platform for most of our co-ops. And this is also where the principle of cooperation among cooperatives would come in, which to me would be most welcome. All this and other measures which are still on the drawing board are meant to help everyone, including cooperatives, cope with the so-called new normal. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Gary. That's quite a comprehensive presentation, and interesting to see how you all have lobbied to see that cooperatives are expressly included rather than just be subsumed among an entire basket. So we'd like to also see how how you all are moving forward on this. And it's also interesting to see how you all are looking at digitization and trying to look at how we can move just from the physical to the virtual space in a seamless manner. So thank you very much. I would also like to kindly request coming speakers to stay within the time, for we are trying to wrap this up within a certain time period. So now I'd like to request Mr. Bao, the president of the Vietnam Cooperative Alliance, to share with us what cooperatives in Vietnam have done over the past couple of months and what they're planning for the future.
Thank you to Mr. Balu. Yeah. Visiting guest, Mr. Ariel Wako, ICA President. Distinguished Mr. Lee Chango, ICA AP President. Mr. Balu Ayah, that is the director of ICA AP. Leaders of Cooperative Federation and International Organization. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, it is my pleasure to attend our webinar on post-COVID-19 response of cooperative in Asia Pacific. This is a good opportunity for VCA to share Vietnam experience on implementing measures against COVID-19 pandemic, which is seriously spreading and threatening people, health, and livelihood all over the world, including our cooperative sector. As you may know, Vietnam is one of the most successful countries in controlling and pushing back the pandemic, thanks to the government's leadership in providing medical assistance in the fastest, in most effective manner, activity, disseminating information about a pandemic, the health recommendation in Vietnam and in the world. Thanks to the solidarity and cohesive of Vietnamese people, especially with more than 30 million members of cooperative sector joining hands in implementing government's strategy of prevention, early detection, quarantine, and treatment, as well as social distancing. Vietnam has been achieving significant success. Besides, Vietnam has adopted a new approach of containing and controlling an outbreak while sustaining socio-economic stability and priorities people, life, and health over economic gains. Together with his cooperative, pre-cooperative, and members of VCA have been maintaining their production and business activity, producing good as extension products such as rice, meat, fruits, and other in scale when the supply chains being interrupted, contributing to stable the market and the people, as well as social, political livelihood. Right from the COVID-19 outbreak in Vietnam by the end of January 2020, VCA has strong leadership and direction throughout the VCA system, and our member focusing on the implementation of all measures and guidance from the government and related health authority. We have received positive contribution from our member. At the same time, we say also promptly get the information on the difficulty, problem, and hardship issues from our member to propose to the government and related military and immediate measure and action for the collective economic sector and cooperative affected by COVID-19 pandemic, including tax break and permission for repayment of tax, continue to concern to establish new cooperative, organizing online training course. We say also sent 25 letters to share experience on the pandemic prevention measure to cooperative federation and international organization in the region and in the world, such as ICA, ILO, DRGV, Acratera, Senchu, and other cooperative organizations in Russia, Italy, France, Brazil, South African, as well as sent to document to VCA members to guide them to implement and participate in the financial and economic package of the government for support low-income people and impacted workers for now on being left behind. Today, May 13, 2020 also marks a period of 27 days that Vietnam has no new infected case of COVID-19 in the community. The government has been allowing loosen the social distancing and strengthening production and business activity. However, being now that is a bit of COVID-19 pandemic in the world, no vaccine has been developed, and the virus organized has not been synchronized. We continue requesting the cooperative sector in Vietnam to loosen and distancing, but at the same time implement all important measures to prevent pandemic in parallel with observing the condition of production environment, caring for physical and spiritual lives of member and concluding mutual have to overcome the hardship and leading to exchange experience of provide assistance to cooperative federation in the country with available resources of VCA. In the context of country and international organizations, including ICA, have recognized the huge negative impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on the world and national economic and propose the solution for pandemic control and post-pandemic economic development. We would like to make some recommendation and proposal to ICA and ICAP as follows. Disseminating the experience of Vietnam and countries' success in preventing and pushing the pandemic through organizing forums, seminars such as this important event today. Researching and anticipating the change of the world economic and the impact on the cooperative sector, so by making necessary recommendation to cooperative member organization. Researching on insurance and financial mechanism to deal with unprecedented risks such as the COVID-19 pandemic, shows us cooperative loss to cooperative can be minimized. Establishing to formalizing the supply chains of the cooperative sector, leading by the strong cooperative federation and cooperative groups in the world, providing important voice for the development of cooperative economy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bao. I think Vietnam has been held up as one of the countries which has reacted very well in face of the pandemic and been able to keep low the number of cases and deaths which have happened. And I'd like to thank you for giving your recommendations that we should be sharing our experiences, researching more into this issue, and also looking at ways in which the supply chains can be improved. So thank you very much for your presentation. I'd like to go to Iran, and we have Mr. Ali Reza Benafir, the International Affairs Manager of the Iran Chamber of Cooperatives. I'd like to request Ali Reza to give us a perspective from Iran.
Thank you, Mr. Balu. It's actually the time that we should say good morning and good afternoon at the same time to everyone, my friends and colleagues from the cooperative movement in different countries. It's an honor to have Mr. Guarco, Mr. Li Chusheng, and everyone joining this webinar to share our latest updates about the pandemic in other countries and also about my country, Iran. So without further ado, I would like to give you a presentation about Iran. So as you can see, this is the coronavirus pandemic, or what we call it COVID-19, was officially announced in Iran on February 20th. So on the left side, you can see the daily increased confirmed cases. So it has had its own ups and downs. The last figure is for 11th of May, which was around 1,683 new cases. The total number of cases in Iran so far reaches to the number about 109,000 cases. On the right side, you can see that the number of deaths over the past months. And you can see over the last couple of weeks, we were able to decrease the number to a very logical number, which is the result of getting to know the virus better. This is the global picture of the trend of the virus and all the statistics related to it in global mode. Right now, we have Iran standing in the 10th position in the world in the category of highest number of affected cases. Well, the reaction of countries and government against pandemics are different. And every country has its own strategies and measures and actions to fight against it, looking at the available sources and its local, economical, and cultural background. In my country, many different committees were formed in different provinces to control the pandemic and provide the daily needs of the society in different cities. Of course, many different religious ceremonies and gatherings were prohibited. Schools and universities and also commercial centers and recreational places and sport complexes were closed to stop people from gathering together. And every public transport vehicle was disinfected on a daily basis. The outbreak showed that countries, first and foremost, are looking after their own security and well-being. So it can be an alarm for the multinational organizations to find solutions and revise their identity that suits all the best. These were the actions in a national level, but since we have time, we have to move very quickly. I would like to mention about the cooperative sector. We were fortunate of having co-ops who were able to change their production line so quickly in responding to the needs of the country, from producing clothing products to producing masks and guns and protective clothing for medical staff. Currently, they have a production capacity of 2.5 million masks per day, and the needed capacity is about 60 million masks for the whole country. Another example is our petrochemical industry cooperative, producing detergents and disinfectants, which was able to supply 20% of the country's demand. This is a very good indicative number about the success of this movement about these cooperatives, where in need, cooperatives rising from their own background respond to the demands of the society. Cooperatives were also able to procure and distribute basic goods and materials to their members in worker cooperatives and different types of cooperatives that are working. But let's see how they were damaged. I believe many sectors have been damaged due to the pandemic, and cooperatives, no matter in which country they are operating, they were also affected. Many of them were affected because of the ban of trade and the limitations of trade between countries. Production of industrial and agricultural co-ops were stopped or decreased to the minimum of possibility. The demand of agricultural co-ops and agricultural products were also decreased due to the closure of food distribution centers like restaurants and so on. Tourism sector is one of the very highly affected sectors, and the active ones have no estimation about the reopening of this sector in the near future. Housing cooperatives were forced to stop their projects due to the safety and health of their workers. Trade fairs and many different events were canceled, and again, they are also looking for a way to reopen their industry, looking at the healthy measures needed. And these are just examples of the places which were affected. Just bear in mind that right now, many developing countries have not experienced the peak of the disease, where fewer jobs can be done remotely, or distancing measures won't work as well. The virus will spread quickly, and health systems won't be able to care for the infected. But what about the future? Where will be in 6 months, a year, or 10 years from now? The world after COVID-19 is a world full of uncertainty, but it does not mean that we cannot prepare for what is ahead. Day by day, the necessity of paying more attention to the online way of doing things is getting more visible. And at this time, everyone saw the importance of it. The ones working in online sector were the ones getting affected to the least. This is more important for the cooperative sector, as in many countries, the traditional way of doing tasks is more dominant. Special investments and planning on platform cooperatives are absolutely needed. The decisions in the cooperative sector are to be made rapidly, away from unnecessary bureaucracies. Well, everyone is so tired of useless physical meetings in different countries, but maybe 3 months ago, we couldn't believe that we might have our online way of doing things and our online meetings and webinars so widespread and so fruitful as they are now. This is the same issue with our online training session. The need to train employees and members is of utmost importance, especially at this crucial time, to be able to be better adapted to the so-called new world. Of course, the same thing about flexible working hours and working from home, because from today onward, homes are the real shelter everyone is looking for. The last but not least is about the opportunity that youth are bringing to the movement. They need to be invested on. They need to be invested on because of their capacity to adapt quickly to the new situation, because of their creativity, because of their ability to risk-taking, and all the ideas that they are bringing to the cooperative they are working. Overall, I think COVID-19 has been a wake-up call, a very serious wake-up call for the humanity. We need global leadership, collective actions, and shared responsibilities in support of current and future generations. We must be building a new economy that addresses inequalities and that is more resilient, greener, healthier, safer for all, to secure millions of decent jobs, specifically for young women and men who are affected most by the crisis. I think it's time to be united more than ever and learn to live a new way of living based on a collective action. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali Reza, for taking us through the situation in Iran and the impact it's had on trade and tourism and agriculture, which I think for many countries which are dependent on agriculture and trade, there is a big impact because of closure of borders. But thank you also for emphasizing on the need to engage youth and in terms of seeing how we can capitalize on what they have to offer in this current mode where we are looking at online, moving forward with technology and looking at new ways of doing things. So it makes it all the more important for us to see how we can engage the youth. Thank you. I'd now like to request Dr. Chandrapal Singh Yadav, who is the Vice President for the region, to say a few words. And then Mr. Satyanarayana, the Chief Executive of the National Cooperative Union of India, would let us know about what actions are being taken in India.
So, Mr. Balu Ayyar ji, Namaskar, warm greetings to all of you. President of ICA, Mr. Ariel Guarco, President of ICA AP, Mr. Lee Chun Seng, speakers, and Mr. US Avasthi, MD IFCO, representatives of ICA member organizations, participants of seminar all over the world, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Cooperative Movement of India, I wish the cooperator all over the world for their safety and well-being. It is indeed a pleasure for us to hear the President ICA and President ICA AP and other speakers from the Asia Pacific region in today's seminar. The World Health Organization, WHO, on March 11th declared COVID-19 a pandemic. It is not just a public health crisis, but a crisis that very much affected all sectors of economy, and therefore every sector and very individual must be involved in the fights against the coronavirus. The impact of pandemic is really very bad. Most of us have not faced such situation in our lifetime, but I am sure that we will come out from this very difficult time by taking all safety measures and follow the guideline of the government issued from time to time. I wish you, your family and members of your cooperative to stay safe and take very good care at this very difficult time. I must thank the ICA, especially the Regional Office of Asia Pacific, for organizing today's web seminar, which is very timely. I am sure that all of us, we will very much benefited from the presentations and discussions. The Chief Executive of NCI, Mr. N. Satyanarayan, share with you a brief on response of Indian cooperative to COVID-19 pandemic, government support to the cooperative sector and future planning. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Yadav. Is Mr. Satyanarayan there? Okay, while we wait, I think we'll go to Dr. Avasthi. I understand there is a video to be played. We'll play the video and then hear Dr. Avasthi. Can we hear
Hello.
Dr. Awasthi and then we'll come back to Mr. Satyanarayana?
Hello, good evening. First of all, thank you for allowing us to join this very important webinar, especially from all over the world. Everybody's here. I can see Arya, Lee, Chandpalji, and our friends from all over the world. So, our greetings to all of you, and we wish you good health. And we wish you good health for you and your country and your people. COVID-19 is a challenge which has really shaken up the human population. As a cooperatives, our role becomes extremely important in this situation, especially IFCO being a cooperative which is owned by the farmers, and India being basically agriculture country. Our role becomes very important for looking after the health of the farmers. And as government declared fertilizer availability, seed availability, and insurance as essential services, our role became extremely important for continuing the economic activity along with safety of our farmers, our employees, and our cooperators. The important point is that how to India being a country which is very large population, where the density of population is high, the meaning of maintaining social distance was a real challenge. Number one. So, how to make people aware of the social distancing, for which large awareness campaign were started, and we have covered about 550,000 farmers and cooperators who have contributed, whom we have been able to tell them the importance of social distancing. We have provided them all kind of things. The masks have been provided, more than 1.5 million masks we have provided. We have provided them the sanitizer. Our cooperative societies, they're in far from area, in the area which are not even accessible. How to make them provide sanitizers, soaps, vitamin C tablets to increase their immunity. That program was taken up in a massive scale in IFCO. Beside this, what we have observed is that for running the plants, you see, there are many work which are done manually, and there the social distancing and also protection for our people was important element where the scientific innovation had to be done. When you carry a 50 kg bag, it is very difficult to carry for a distance of 6. How do you provide a 6 feet um, or 2 meters gap? You can't just throw the bag and take care of it. So some kind of semi-automatic innovation were done to provide also social distancing and to take care of their health. So those are the areas where we have done lot of work. You've also seen that a lot of people, when they migrate from one place to other, they need the support of the food. So food packets were provided to them were migrating from one place or other place. Or in our plant who are working, we have provided them to stay in the place because as per the government regulation, the people who are working in a continuous running plants like fertilizer plants, the workers cannot go back to their places. So they have to be confined at one place. All those arrangements were made for making them to confine the place and provide the services. We have also seen that our Prime Minister started a PM Care Fund where we provided about $3.75 million to support the initiative of our Prime Minister. And today morning, yesterday, our Prime Minister has announced a $266 billion grant and a stimulus package to the country for different section of societies Your details are coming up, and it so happened that your webinar and our finance minister's announcement was clashing. So I don't have the details right now with me, but I'm sure they'll provide some kind of support to our people. What we have to really look at it, that COVID-19 is a health emergency, is an economic emergency. It is not remain to a sector. It is not remaining to a particular set of people. It is a challenge for everyone. And the question is how to get that challenge to be tackled at our different levels. That is what needed. So I don't want to talk about what is happening, but as an organization and as cooperatives, what we can do. So when we have these kind of cooperatives which are far flung areas where reaching of the even the medical help is very remote possibility, how to make them realize that this can reach them also, and how to make them realize hand sanitation is important, about the taking care of the sanitary arrangements of the food arrangement, what kind of food is to be taken, how to get their immunity improved. So they are not the people who have a lot of money. So indigenous ways have to find to provide them immunity boosters. That arrangement was made by us, and we are happy to inform that so far in our institutions we have not had even one case of COVID, where we have 40 million members, 36,000 societies. We have plants, 11 plants in India. We have plants in India and outside India, including outside India. There have not been even one case of any COVID. So that is one which indicates how effectively we have been able to get the masses, what WHO has said, what government of India has said, what different governments have practiced, how to make that happen to a people who are not just aware what is this. They are not even aware what kind of this disease is. They've just heard this COVID, but they don't know what is the COVID is really. So these are challenges which we have been successfully able to do. And I think as a cooperative, we are a service organization. We are one for all and all for one. That's the motto of cooperative. Cooperative does not recognize value of money. It recognizes value of people. And the value of people is what we have given most important aspect to it. And I'm just sharing it to you that for us, even the smallest person, we have the first taken care of him. We know that he doesn't have that kind of immunity which a person which is having little higher salary has. So first we have ensured that he gets that immunity level where his oxygen level is fine, where he has a resistance to be able to withstand this, develop the resistance to withstand this kind of disease, to follow the social distancing, to have the mask on him, and how to, those are the kind of people who have never used the mask in their life. So, how to make them realize that this is important for them. And now we feel the most important aspect is post COVID life. The post COVID life is life which is going to define how the economies of any country or any community will be there. And this is where the role of cooperatives, which is going to work with the smallest of the small organizations to make them handhold them and to support them to be able to come out of it. This is what I think is most important post COVID. And we know we have to live with this disease for at least 2 years, because I don't think whatever people are saying that vaccine will come. I doubt that we will have any kind of vaccine which can be used on humans for next 2 years. So we have to keep in our mind that it is our constant effort and our constant hand-holding together the worldwide support from each other, that we will be, God willing, successful. I just want to wish all of you good health, be safe, and remember, as a cooperative, we are together. We will be always standing together. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Awasthi. Thank you very much for putting the emphasis on that individual, the single farmer or the single individual, that we need to see that how we can help protect them. And as we protect each one, then that's how we can expand. And the value of people, I think that's very important, value of people over value of money. Thank you very much for all the work that you all are doing and the contribution. And thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. Now I'd like to request Mr. Satyanarayana to quickly take us through some of the interventions which the NCUI and cooperatives in India have done.
Thank you, Mr. Balu Ayerji, for giving me this opportunity to speak. President of ICA, Ariel, President of ICA, AP, Lee Chunching, President of ICA, and Vice President of ICA, Dr. Chandrapal Singh Yadav, Dr. Uday Shankar Awasthi, MD, and all other participants all over the world, and all participants of the seminar all over the world, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to extend warm greetings to all of you. I wish you, your family, and members of your cooperatives to be safe and take a very good care at these difficult times. Probably most of us have not faced such situation in our lifetime, but I am sure that we will come out from this very difficult time by taking all safety measures and follow the respect to government guidelines from time to time. First corona at the death case occurring in India on 12th March by a gentleman who came from Saudi Arabia. So within 8 days, Indian government declared a curfew, that means public curfew, and later on, from 24th onwards, declared a complete lockdown. Due to that situation, cases in India are till date are not more than 70,000, and deaths are approximately more than 2,000. In order to prevent the spread of virus locally, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has been issuing advisories from time to time to empower the citizens with the right information and taking precautions. COVID-19 economic response task force has been set up by the government to meet the economic challenges arising out of the pandemic. Today itself, almost 20 lakhs, almost 10% of the GDP of government of India, GDP of India, has been given as a package over the period of time, so that all the organizations, whether cooperatives or otherwise, or citizens, they can get their views here to get revived themselves. The Indian cooperatives supported Honorable Prime Minister of India to observe one-day self-imposed Janata curfew using social media to spread awareness and restrict the movement to very essential services. Cooperatives as well as the cooperative societies have been spreading awareness on how to stay safe from coronavirus by distributing pamphlets. This thing we have seen from the Avasthis that even speech also. IFCO has organized to break the corona chain social awareness campaign on ground zero in different states across the country. Members and workers are regularly educated about the importance of social distancing, sanitization, as said earlier, maintaining a healthy diet, and prevention through covering up of face by masks. Vitamin C tablets, medicated soap, masks, sanitizers, numerous medical kits were also distributed by the societies among people at different locations in India, led by IFCO. One of the IT startup of ULCCS developed a communication app to government of Kerala for the security, safety and security of the members and customers and employees have been in the top priorities for the cooperative societies. In this direction, cooperative banks and other cooperative institute organizations have arranged thermal scanning at the entry of the premises, because customers are large in number in banks, so they initiated immediately. Later on, followed by all the cooperative organizations. Cooperative banks have been encouraging the use of digital platform to avoid social contact. Few cooperative banks, cooperative sugar factories installed disinfection tunnel at the entry of the premises itself. Some of the cooperative banks have been able to provide door-to-door cash facility through its mobile ATM vans, enabling customers to get the benefit without physically going to the bank. Then cooperatives are in the forefront to supply and distribution of essential commodities. Cooperatives as institution and cooperatives and employees as individual have extended help to the needy people by offering food, money, and other means of support, including essentials, grocery packets to support the government. Consumer active cooperatives in the state and district level have been providing essential items to the public at their doorstep through their mobile van at reasonable price, ensuring that people do not have to come out from their home. While appreciating the contributions of doctors, nurses, and paramedical staff in the fight against coronavirus, the cooperators and cooperative institutions donated personal protective equipment kits to the medical fraternity led by UFO. Cooperative education field projects of INSHOI in different parts of the country have been distributing masks prepared by the SHG members and arranged food to the needy in rural areas through community kitchens. When the nation was anxious for continued supply of milk and dairy products, the pride of cooperatives in India, Amul, popularly known as Amul, as well as other state-level dairy cooperatives, ensure no shortage of milk in the market. The National NAFED, National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India, has been entrusted by the Government of India to execute the massive operation to provide 1 kg of pulses to 200 million households for 3 months under the Government India scheme. As the fertilizer sector has been identified as a critical sector by the Government of India, all plants of IFCO and CRIPCO remain fully operated to ensure farmers of the country face no shortage of plant nutrients. Both the fertilizer cooperatives have been supplying fertilizer to farmers at their doorstep by maintaining social distance. IFCO's e-Bazaar has been delivering agriculture inputs and services to the farming community, fulfilling the needs of the farmers at this difficult time. Monetary contributions also given to various relief funds by the cooperative society. Several cooperative organizations, including cooperative banks, have been contributing generously in the Prime Minister Relief Fund, PM CARES Fund. The fund is dedicated to national fund with the primary objective of dealing with any kind of emergency or distress situation like posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and to provide relief to the affected. Employees of most of the cooperative institutions, including INSHOI, have contributed voluntarily of their one-day salary to the PM CARES Fund for the noble cause. It is estimated that more than 50 crores Indian rupees have been contributed by the different cooperative societies in India at the national level. Cooperatives and cooperators and cooperative employees have been donating generously towards the Chief Minister Relief Funds also in the respective states in order to help the states. In one of the states, ULCCS supported the Kerala state government by permanently rehabilitating more than 1,000 street dwellers and also arranging transportation to migrant guest workers to safe return to their home states. INSHOI has proposed to give its 48-room hostel for conversion into isolation wards for the affected people with necessary facilities. The Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India allowed the cooperative societies to function in the non-containment areas during the lockdown. Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare recently launched the Kisan Rath farmers chariot to facilitate farmers and traders in identifying different mode of transportation for movement of farm produce. Operations of fishing and aquaculture industry has been exempted from lockdown, giving relief to the fisheries cooperative sector because this is a food item. As per the guidelines issued by the RBI, the cooperative banks have given 3 months moratorium to its borrowers who have taken loans from the bank. Government has extended the benefit of 2% interest of subvention to banks and 3% prompt repayment incentive to all farmers. The central bank announced a special liquidity facility of rupees 25,000 crores of US dollars, approximately 3.3 billion, to NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, to refinance the regional rural banks and cooperative banks and microfinance institutions, which will in turn ensure the primary agriculture cooperative societies start functioning normally with adequate financial support. These all cooperative banks already have been providing loans to the farmers. Indian cooperatives are of the opinion that Government of India, state government, banks and financial institutions, business cooperatives and promotional cooperatives and development cooperatives will assess and monitor the situation from time to time and take concerted prudent decisions. With its vast network, cooperatives will play an important role to rebuild the nation and its economy and also improve socio-economic and health conditions of individual households in the largely affected areas. Creation of solidarity fund has also been proposed by some of the ICA members in India. Finally, COVID-19 forced the cooperative to rethink, re-innovate, and evaluate an earlier working pattern and plan for more digitization using an online platform and foolproof cloud-enabled IT infrastructure to avoid physical contact among employees and stakeholders. In that direction, Apex body of the Indian Cooperative Movement ICA is working to conduct various programs in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satyanarayana. And I'll again like to thank all our apexes from across the region for having provided an overview in a short time on the activities that they've done and the plans that they have looking forward. For the COVID-19, like it's been said, it's not going to go away anytime soon. So we need to prepare for the long haul, and how we can adapt and adopt becomes very important. So in this regard, I'd now like to request Mr. Li Shunsheng, President of the ICA Asia Pacific, to provide his views on how he thinks cooperatives have responded and need to respond going forward. Mr. Li Shunsheng.
Okay. Mr. Guaco, Mr. Balu, dear colleagues, I'm glad to see you all again in such special situation and a special way. We are meeting at a crucial moment in the world battle with coronavirus with rapid spread. It has put life and health of people under grave threat. Seriously disrupted the flow of the people and the global economy, and pose severe challenge to us, cooperative in particular. As we are speaking here, global coronavirus deaths have surpassed 280,000. Over 200 countries are still fighting the coronavirus. Many are still in lockdown. In isolation, virus may keep us. Our commitment remains unchanged. It's very heartening to see our cooperative continue to serve the members and community in one way or another, while contributing actively to society as a whole. Singapore National Cooperative Federation facilitates potential cooperation of cooperatives. Nepal Agriculture Cooperative Central Federation transported the member produce to the market with trucks. PCC used Cooperative Development Fund and helped the member weather through the crisis. NUCI India of the hostile as coronavirus isolation ward. Women cooperated in Iran stood at the forefront line against coronavirus. Decopin, Indonesia, Angkasa, Malaysia, NACO, Philippines, Yunnan, Japan, Korea, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and many other countries cooperative join actively battle with coronavirus and strengthen mutual help, and some cooperatives provide PEE to the workers. I'm really proud of this. That said, the real test cooperative is still unfolding. If we look at country in Asia Pacific, the virus has generally been contained, with many already past peak time. In such special time, we call for cooperation more than ever before. Cooperative which uphold the value one for all and all for one is significant, grow ever more prevalent in the pandemic. This is opportunity for the cooperative to increase our voices and empower. The question is, how should we capitalize on this? The apex body, cooperative, and member and all contribute. Here, I'd like to share with you what ACF SMC apex body supply and marketing cooperative is doing following pandemic? First, promote steady recovery in the new normal. In new normal, while strictly adhering to prevention and control measures, we opened up wholesale market and circulation channel for goods deemed essential to flow. Second, ensure supply for spring plowing. Apex body provide guidance through the telephone conference and call for cooperative at various levels to ensure supply and stabilize the prices through the on and offline platform. After mid-April 27, million tons of fertilizer, pesticide, agricultural fuel, and other supply have been provided to the farmers. Third, assist in product marketing during the lockdown. Many agricultural produce become unsaleable, which may inflict a huge loss on our members. Now, with our on and offline sale channel, 1.36 million tons of fresh agricultural product have been sold. A special online section is open to help sell product of Hubei province, where China epicenter of coronavirus 19. With joint effort of 20 provincial cooperatives, $120 million worth of Hubei products such as spring tea, crayfish, edible mushroom, and others have been sold. With opportunity come challenges in China. In spite of the effort, we still face a daunting task ahead. Our last mile delivery service of agricultural supply is yet to be solved. Cotton, recycled resources, asset management hit hard by pandemic. Take time to fully recover. Cooperative enterprises encountering difficulties back in operation again. I think this is also true for other region cooperatives. If we look around AP region or even ICA at large, more work still needs to be done to better cope with post-coronavirus 19 challenges. Some cooperatives may find difficulty pay debt, give salaries, or fall into management crisis. It is more than ever urgent for cooperatives is cooperate both at a national level and international level, such as enhancing enterprise experiences exchanging, cooperation fostering, cooperative work promotion, and so on. Cooperative must seize opportunities, rise to challenges, work in unity, and emerge stronger after this. Wish you all happy and health. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you for touching upon some of the other countries who were not able to present, highlighting the work that they've done, especially from Singapore, Nepal, Indonesia, and other countries. And thank you for letting us know about the work that the All China Federation of Supply and Marketing Cooperatives has done. I think more important is what you said about cooperatives, that we need to cooperate not just at the country level, but across countries, and see how we can promote, stick to the principle of cooperation among cooperatives and be able to exchange and see how we can support each other. So thank you very much. I'd now like to request Mr. Ariel Guarco, President of ICA. Thank you, sir, for joining us. And we'd like to hear for your perspective of how you see ICA and its role from a global level.
Thank you, Alu. Dear friends, dear colleagues from the Asia Pacific region, good morning here in Argentina. Good afternoon or good evening to you. I hope that all of you and your loved ones are well and safe from the coronavirus. It is a real pleasure for me to have the opportunity to share some thoughts with all of you. I would like to thank very much the invitation to participate in this virtual meeting and congratulate the Regional Director, Valu Ayer, who promoted this idea. I especially want to address a respectful greeting to Mr. Lee Chun-seng, President of the Asia-Pacific region. Everything indicates that for some time, we will help to maintain this type of virtual contacts. I must confess that I feel much more comfortable doing it personally. I think that all cooperative members prefer to see each other, shake hands, meet and talk face to face. It is part of how we think about social relations and how we build a more fraternal and supportive world. But this pandemic is testing us. It challenges cooperative members and humanity as a whole. For the first time in this global age, we are already absolutely traversed by an invisible threat that forces us to stay physically separated from each other. Without any doubt, it is a huge challenge to continue cooperating under these conditions. But we are doing it. In the International Cooperative Alliance, we are receiving daily news that many of you sent us about the great efforts that cooperatives are making in each of the nations to help their members. In all regions, in all sectors, cooperative organizations have taken an active role in caring for their members, and many of them are performing key tasks to help their communities, especially those most affected by the coronavirus. Believe me, it is truly moving to see globally the cooperative movement in action, giving answers and engaging with those who need it most today. Take care of the sources of work, continue producing food, organize consumption, allow the financing of production and services, attend to health, and generate new technologies so that all this is possible. These are, among others, some of the priorities that our organizations know, can and should have in favor of their communities. And they are doing it in the Asia-Pacific regions and around the world, largely thanks to the ability of their strong integration level. I have had the opportunity to be in several countries in your region in the recent years, and I have met with strong national organizations, with authentic leadership, and with cooperative experiences deep-rooted in the territories. I don't want to fail to mention that in this very particular 2020, you are reaching no less than 60 years of institutional integration at regional level. This is clearly a great strength for each of its organizations, given the unprecedented challenges you must face today. It is also a pride for the ICA, which feels its power at a global level from the integrated development of each of its regions, sectors, networks, and committees. This ability to give answers from solidarity, to be an effective tool so that everyone can have a decent life, to care for the most vulnerable, to distribute opportunities without leaving anyone behind, is what enables us today to give a central debate about the world we want to build from now on. As I expressed it a few days ago in a message that perhaps many of you received through the ICA broadcast channels, the discard culture is showing us its limits. Beyond the borders, the level of development, the cultures, and the political or economic structure in each country, The pandemic revealed the fragility of our civilization on a global scale. It makes clear to us that we are very far from the economic, social, and environmentally sustainable development that we agreed to seek in the 2030 Agenda. And the question that I ask myself and that I share with you now again is, how far will we who inhabit our common home, our planet Earth, be able to turn this course? I believe that the cooperative movement must have a clear voice and give answers in this debate. We must put on the table in which way and how we choose to organize our work, to produce, to invest, to consume. For cooperatives, it has always been central to debate how and under which criteria we are going to organize our enterprises, or in our terms, what principles and what values are those that will guide our enterprises. We must leave the model of competition and individualism, which led us to concentration, inequality, health fragility, the environmental crisis, to go towards models of cooperations as a paradigm of economic organization. Cooperation is the way to build a fairer and more balanced economy, but fundamentally, and this is the novelty, a less fragile economy when facing of global challenges such as the pandemic or climate change. This learning that we are doing today, where we see human beings working cooperatively to overcome the challenges of the pandemic, must be translated into a strong questioning about the models that we are choosing to build an economy. The challenge of this global learning is to be incorporated into the debate on the business models that sustainable development needs. The competition and individualism paradigms has already shown us its consequences of inequality and social fragility. Today is the time of the cooperation paradigm. We are the only global network of enterprises with the capacity and vocation to participate in a global debate on the paths that we must necessarily follow to build an international cooperation system in accordance with these circumstances. I hope that this exchange of ideas from a distance in times of pandemics help us to think about how to move forward along these paths, and that all the contribution we are making to help our communities enhance our role in a global economy that necessarily will undergo transformations. I would like to thank you deeply for your commitment, for your work, for your solidarity, for taking the lead in this battle from each of your organizations. Dear colleagues, dear friends, you can count with all my support. You have all my respect and all my admiration for the work you are doing. Thank you very much again for inviting me to share this reflection with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Guarco. I think the points that you mentioned, it's up to us to determine how we intend to organize, how we intend to produce, and how we intend to consume, how we can do things differently from what we've done in the past and moving forward. What I'd like to do now is, in the few minutes that we have, we've been receiving a number of questions. And so I'd like to direct it to speakers whom I think these have been addressed to. But I'd like to start first with you. One of the questions which have been asked is, how do cooperatives communicate? How do we communicate our brand? How do we promote our identity? Cooperatives talk about identity being very important. So in your opinion, how should we promote the cooperative identity?
Hello?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. I think at the International Cooperative Alliance, we are looking and listening to the members of each region, and strengthen the role of the cooperative movement at the global level. I think that in this stage, we must be creative to promote strategies to support farmers, fishermen, and artisans to allow us to start playing fully in the care economy, to make a strong social investment in creating new technologies under democratic management, to increase our presence in the development, for example, of renewable energies. There is a lot of work to do, and I think we have a great opportunity at this very moment to lay foundations for fairer, for more caring, more human work. We will do as always, creating opportunities in our territories, starting from the local level, together with our members, the entire community, and the environment that surround us. From there emerged the strength that our movement shows later in each country, in each of the regions, and finally, in the International Cooperative Alliance, we can express on global scale all of our potential as a cooperative movement.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Arya. I have a question for Dr. Awasthi. You had people listening were very thankful to what you had mentioned in terms of putting value over people first over money. But the question which they have is, in pursuing a common advocacy, which would be cooperative's top call in this pandemic? Should it be health or should it be economy? I guess it's somewhere in between, but what is your viewpoint?
No, to the viewpoint of I think cooperatives values, and of course values should be the health is first. If we are able to live through the pandemic, I'm sure we will come out winner. But if we start looking today of economy alone and health later, that would be very, very dangerous attitude, because even today, nobody can say when this pandemic will stop, and when we will think the humans are safe. So first we have to take care of health, then we have to take care of economy. Economy is a state of mind. As I would like to say, this pandemic has taught us one thing: living life is cheaper. You need money only for your style of living. So please remember that the basic needs of human beings are not expensive. Expensive is our style of living. So if we take care of humans, as all of us, and we for a moment forget that how we have lived the life and how we are going to maintain the lifestyle, then I think we'll be winner as a human race. So I think most important part is health and safety of people, then economy.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Awasthi. I have a question addressed to Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, the question is, do you see the need for cooperatives in the Asia Pacific region to create a disaster management fund based on certain guidelines with contributions from member organizations and international agencies? In many countries, there is the need for an immediate response, and cooperatives in countries which have created funds have been able to respond immediately. So do you see the need in the Asia Pacific region for us to be creating a disaster relief fund which can be used in terms of emergencies and needs which arise?
Okay. This is a good question. I think it's a big question is in the pandemic, we should develop our advantage of cooperative movement, such as mutual help, is one of the founding principle of cooperative. As we practice in the pandemic in our region, many country cooperative can practice this principle, can strengthen mutual help, do their best to provide support, assistance to the other cooperative, and associated with government and join actively better with novel coronavirus. I think, this is a good situation. I think can be strengthen our cooperative voices and empower. If just mentioned should be set up a funding committee, I think we can see condition can be suitable. If we have such condition, we have such advantage, we do my best to set up such committee. So before such committee, we should make good investigation. We should, what condition we should be. If we have no condition, we can step by step. We can first, we can beginning mutual help and support and provide assistance to the other cooperatives do their best. Thank you.
Mr. Guarco, thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Guarco, there is a question in terms of how do you see relationship between cooperatives and government? I'm sure in Argentina, you all are going through this time in terms of interacting with the government and trying to see how the governments can put cooperatives in the forefront. So how do you see the need for cooperatives to come together and work with governments to see that we are able to bring forth more in terms of what we can do and how we can support?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Alu. I think that it is an opportunity to work together with governments and especially with supranational organizations for the preparation, execution, and evaluation of plans aimed at taking care of health, work, and production in each of our territories. The ICA have signed agreements with the ILO, FAO, and IFAD in these recent years, and we are increasingly here at the United Nations. Within each country, our organizations must be active in advocating for public powers. I am aware, because I have seen it in person during my visit to different countries in your regions, that cooperatives are taken into account. Now is the time to move forward and propose greater articulation with government based on the universal scope of public policies within a country and the roots of cooperatives in their communities, so that each assistance action and each development tool is put in the hands of people effectively, transparently, and in solidarity.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Guarco. There is a question around, I think it's best answered by Ali Reza. You had talked about youth and the need for looking at digitization and technology. So the question is in terms of how do you see, and you had mentioned that we need to bring more youth on board. So how do you see it happening as both as part of you being a member of the Vice Chair of the Youth Committee, and also with Iran among many other countries in the Asia Pacific region having a young population. How do you see cooperatives stepping up at this point in time in terms of being able to bring in more youth and also leverage on technology?
Well, thank you for this question. Actually, this is very important to include youth in different decision-making roles. So whenever youth have proven that whenever they have given like the opportunity, they can prove the idea that let's just invest on the new ideas, new thoughts, and creative ideas, and then let's see what happens later on. Especially with the new technologies coming on with the youth involvement, and also with different categories and sectors of activities that youth are better involved. They can show a very good and reliable way of giving resources and giving results, and making the audience surprised of the results that youth can bring with their intuition and also with their creative minds. And whenever, well, everyone agrees that at this time we have to be more focused on the technology and also the tools related to technology and ICT things. So youth are a very good platform to be used at this crucial time.
Thank you, Alireza. And this question, I think, is both, I would like to direct it to Dr. Awasthi and Mr. Li Shun Sheng. The question is, one of the principles of cooperation, cooperatives is on cooperation among cooperatives. And with both IFCO and All China Federation of Supply and Marketing Cooperatives being large cooperatives, the question is, how can larger and successful cooperatives in Asia Pacific come forward to help smaller cooperatives in the region? I'd like to request Dr. Awasthi to go first, and then Mr. Lee. How can large cooperatives support smaller cooperatives in the region?
I think this is a very, very important question which you have posed. And I believe, and IFCO believes, that our duty is that as a cooperatives, there is no difference between large and small. We should treat both along with us. Now, it may be just because we are large doesn't mean that we are different. We are cooperatives. So wherever possible, IFCO has tried to do business with the cooperatives. And wherever is we can expand that reach along different countries, along different places, then we certainly open and we are willing to do that business. Even in India, all the small cooperatives, we are working with them and we are supporting them in any of their initiative, including sometime if they need any financial support, if they need any technological support. Lot of federations and lot of societies, we have provided them IT support, IT services. We have a large IT organization. We have an insurance organization where we have provided them a lot of support by way of providing them opportunity to work for us and providing them better remuneration. So all that is part of our business plan should be that the cooperative should have a special place of doing business, and there should be more interaction, more cooperation between cooperative, including in health matter, including in COVID matter, including any kind of emergencies. If we have invented something, for example, we have invented a sanitizer which is made from neem. Now in India, the part of population which doesn't want to use alcohol, and until you have 65% alcohol in sanitizer, it is not effective. So we have got this invention which can kill 99.99% of germs. So we have immediately passed on the technology and the product to smaller cooperatives also that you can do. So these are the kind of things which we keep on doing, and I think we must keep on doing it to support each other. Because as I said, Cooperation does not distinguish between large and small. Cooperation is one for all and all for one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Lee?
Okay. As just what mentioned in the question, is really in our region have some cooperative is big and some cooperative is small. I think it's necessary call for a large accessible cooperative to lend a hand to small one. In the crisis, such as China, we have donated a limited number of PPE, such as masks, protective glove, and a thermometer to some region cooperative, small cooperative in the need. I also noticed that other cooperative in our region, such as Japan, Korea, and Malaysia, some big cooperative provide support assistance to the small cooperative, especially member organization. I think it's a good thing, good momentum. I hope the mutual help mechanism should be established, should be developed among the AP cooperative. In the future, this momentum should be developed and more big cooperative lend a hand to the member organization, to the small cooperative, and join effort to cope with this crisis can be enable our cooperative as a whole and strengthen our voices, strengthen our capability in the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. At the beginning, I had mentioned that we were using the Zoom platform with the support from ICOPIN, which is the Training and Education Institute in Indonesia. I understand their rector is also joining us in this conversation. So I'd like to, and in this conversation, what has come up as important is looking at not only technology, but how we can also look at Principle 5 in terms of education, training, and information. How can we use that also in the digital space? So I'd like to request the rector of ICOPIN to say a few words.
Okay, thank you, Balu. I'll be very brief. Honorable President of ICA, Mr. Guarco, Honorable President of ICA Asia Pacific, Mr. Lee Chun Sheng, friends and ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for giving the ICOPIN, Cooperative Institute of Indonesia, and myself the opportunity to participate in this ICA conference. I think I'm very happy a good number of our faculty members of ICOPIN are participating in this event, and I believe that we have benefited a lot from this webinar. To whom you are not familiar with ICOPIN, let me say that ICOPIN is the one and only higher learning institution in Indonesia focusing its duty primarily on educating, training, propagating, and even preaching the idea of cooperativism within the sphere of business, values of life, and choice of political economy. Few days ago, last Friday, on the 8th of May, ICOPIN celebrated 38th anniversary. We had a webinar with the theme of cooperative SMEs and COVID-19. We got a lot of useful deliberation and information from speakers, ICA speaker, which is I know very well, Robbie Tulus, and also from Sylvia Paraguya from the Philippines and Ahsan Ali Thakur from AP ICA Youth from Pakistan. We are also pleased to inform that there were about 2,000 participants, many of whom are younger generation, including 38 international participants from 11 countries. They are all benefited also from the presence of Cooperative Minister of the Republic of Indonesia who share his view and policy measures in response to this pandemic. Thank you, Mr. Balu Ayer, and Chairman of ICA, and other honorable participants for having us in this conference. We look forward to having been invited again in another occasion of ICA meeting very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to, I think we're coming close to 2 hours, and I had expected this webinar to last 1.5 hours. So I think we should wrap it up. So I'd like Mr. Guarco to say his final words before I conclude this session.
This seminar have give us the opportunity to share some thought, but always to know about what we are doing, not only in the Asia Pacific region, but globally. I think that is a good time to think about the present, but especially to the future. As International Cooperative Alliance, we are thinking about how to move forward, how to take the opportunity to advance, and obviously always thinking about the cooperative paradigm based on the collective actions we are able to do. Thinking about our Congress, when we will show our identity, our cooperative identity, I think it will be a great opportunity to show our cooperative identity. We are working on this. We are trying to advance in the organization, but the pandemic has stopped us, and we have to think about to make consensus and try to plan how to resolve this very hard problem. Thank you to all. Thank you, Balu. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you, dear friends, for this opportunity. Stay safe and keep away from the coronavirus.
Thank you, Mr. Guarco. Thank you very much for taking your morning to be with us. I'd like to thank all our speakers, Mr. Lee Shun Cheng, Dr. Awasthi, for staying throughout. Our APEX members from Australia, Melina, from Philippines, Gary Leonardo, from Vietnam, Mr. Bao, Iran, Ali Reza, from India, Dr. Chandrapal Singh Yadav, and Mr. Satyanarayana, and the ECOPIN Rector, Burhanuddin Abdullah. Thank you very much for being part of the webinar, for enriching the discussion with the work that you all are doing and the actions which you all are planning in the days ahead. I'd also like to thank all our participants. I think you had a very good response, and I'd like to thank all the participants for joining us and posing the questions. And we will upload the presentations and the briefs which our presenters made on our website, and we'll circulate it around so that you all will get the complete presentations. We will also share it on our different social media sites. And we'll also try to get responses. There were a number of other questions asked for which we could not get the responses in this webinar, but we will pose it to the speakers and try to get as many of your questions answered. I'd also like to take this opportunity to let you all know about the next webinar. What we at the regional office are planning is to look at the going ahead. This webinar looked at what APEX organizations and large organizations, our members in the region are doing, have done, and what they are planning to look ahead. And one of the issues which came up was in terms of technology, how we should be using technology going forward. So the next webinar which we are planning is on May 21st, and that will be from 11 to 12:30 India Standard Time. We're all using the India Standard Time as the benchmark in a way that members from across the region can participate. So I'd like to invite you all to join and also promote the next webinar. We'll have speakers from Singapore, India, Indonesia, and Iran, who will be talking about how cooperatives can use technology in order to look at not only issues around education, but also in terms of how we can do our regular work. So I'd like to invite you all to join us. As we all know, July 4th is the International Day of Cooperatives. And this year, it's very apt that the theme is on SDG 13, climate action. And the pandemic has shown that disease of this nature does not respect borders. It cuts across borders, it cuts across all levels of society. Similarly, climate action is such. The effects of climate change are not just on one country, but across countries, across regions, and affect everyone. So I think this International Day of Cooperative and the theme is very important. And I'm sure you all are looking into this and seeing how we can bring forth the work that cooperatives are doing to address issues around climate change. And as Mr. Guarco mentioned, the World Cooperative Congress is now being postponed given the pandemic. It was to have taken place in December, but now we are planning to have it end of February, early March in 2021. And we do hope that things will stabilize in order to enable movement of people. But even the planning of the Congress is looking at different models, looking at physical, looking at online. So one thing which we need to, which we can learn from this pandemic is that we need to be continuously adapting and adopting in order to be able to respond to any issues which can come forth in front of us. Again, I'd like to thank you all very much for being part of this discussion and taking the time to join us today. And I look forward to engaging with you all in the coming months in a more online fashion, and hopefully someday soon we can be in touch in a more physical sense. Again, thank you very much for joining and making this a very fruitful webinar. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you again.
Sri, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Sri, please stop the YouTube live streaming.
Okay.
Yeah.